Black guy wakes up from the crowd. Unexpectedly, he was surrounded by dense corpses. It looks like a giant eyeball make people stand coldly. Even more unbelievable, their bodies seem to have been sewn together. Black guy endured the severe pain and tried to peel off his body, forcefully tearing open the acidic skin. Stumbled out of the warehouse, but just when he got to the door, he was stopped by a car. It was the murderer with the shotgun that came down. Black guy sneaked out under the man's eyes with his racial talent and ran into the cornfield in panic. But the killer with a shotgun has aimed at his location. The black guy, who has nowhere to escape, can only jump off a cliff, but he was not favored by the goddess of luck, knocking his head on the boulder of the cliff and ended his life. Let's start from the day before yesterday. Black guy takes the subway home as usual. Not expect a salty pig's hand touched his hand. He also praised his smooth skin. The beauty landscape of Great America. Black guy has already feel common. The car parked outside the house at night rang without warning. The black guy, who was awakened, can only find out, but found a piece of plastic bag stuck in the trunk. Just as he opened the trunk to check, a black figure approached behind him. The police quickly found his body. Forensic testing showed he has a lot of washing powder in his body. Has the same treatment as the previous 6 corpses. It can be concluded it was done by one person, but the place of dumping is different, hundreds of miles away from the last stand, and there are many wounds due to the impact of the river. It's impossible to tell which wounds killed him. At this moment, Hannibal proposed evidence could be extracted from cracked surface of the corpse.
What? Craquelure. It's French. For the cracks that appear on an oil painting as it dries and becomes rigid with age. Cracks are not always weaknesses. A life lived accrues in the cracks.
Jack questioning the forensic. Will this find out what the dead have in common? The forensic doctor replied, maybe the point of this case isn't the common ground, but in the difference.
Each of these people has a slightly different flesh tone. It could be like a color palette.
The color of our skin is so often politicized. That may be all this killer has ever seen in his fellow man. Which is why it is so easy for him to do what he does to his victims.
Even Hannibal couldn't help but praise this keen insight. Call it like Agent Will was there.
Yes, it is.
Then Jack called the forensic to the office, asked why the forensic did not get his consent and meet Will in private. But the forensic doctor saw his inconsistency. On the surface he is blaming, but deep down he doesn't want to believe it. The righteous Will is a psycho killer, although currently all the evidence can't prove Will's innocence. And Jack was also investigated by the above because of his leniency towards Will, but he still followed his inner choice.
You know what your job is?
Yes, I do.
The forensic doctor found Will again. She hoped he can use his abilities to help the police find clues, but this time it was rejected by Will. He made it clear that he would not help unconditionally. The quid pro quo is to ignore the evidence against him. A retrial of Abby's case without any emotion.
Start over. From guilty, find more evidence. Not guilty, maybe find that too.
Although reluctantly, but the forensic, eager to solve the case and agreed to his request, took over the case. Will looked at the pictures of the dead like being there. Quickly discovered the focus of the case. Black guy was originally a drug addict. That why after being injected with a large amount of drugs did not die. Instead, he escaped from control and died unexpectedly. Infer from this, the area where the body found is likely to be where the murderer hid.
You need someplace private to do what he does. A warehouse, a farm, someplace abandoned, upstream from where the body was found, but close to the water.
Thank you.
Will seemingly inadvertently asked, what does Hannibal think of this case? Forensic said he think the deceased was a discarded work like everyone else.
That may be what he said, not necessarily what he thinks.
Will was right as early as the time of the autopsy. Hannibal used his keen sense of smell to smell the taste of corn. Then, according to the location of the cornfield, found a secluded barn. One of them is locked. Hannibal climbed up the stairs. Sure enough, thrilling works of art are displayed in front of him. Then came in a man with a watering can. There is no doubt he is the killer.
Hello. I love your work.